Hi everyone, this is Chantay. So welcome to the late night breakdown of the news cycle of the week. And I'm just going to be brief. I'm not going to be that long because I know everybody's out. I don't know if you're partying, but you're probably drinking, probably doing, stuff that grown folks do. So I'm just going to pull up the I haven't been writing down these numbers lately because I just have, my iPad right in front of me. But I'm about to get to it because it's been pretty busy news cycle of the week. So, just doing the damn thing. About to pull up these COVID numbers. For real, for real. So, here we are with COVID. So, according to the Johns Hopkins University Medicine website, we have 130,126,796 cases worldwide. The global death toll is 2,836,682. The U.S. confirmed cases is 30,606,648. And the U.S. death toll is 554,069. There were new cases yesterday on April the 2nd, 79,029 cases, new confirmed cases of COVID-19. And even though there are over 200 million Americans that have been vaccinated, however, the fact that there's a surge in cases. There's a couple variances, including the Brazilian variants, the South African variants, the European variants, and the New York variants that is here in New York City. There's cases that are picking up, but even though some people are opening up places, there are still rising number of COVID cases. That's why if you can get the vaccine, get it. I am going to my doctor. I am going to ask my doctor which is the best vaccine to take because I am one of the people that have allergic reactions to various medicines. So I need to know which dose is good. Which should I do 1 or should I do 2? Like, I'm going to ask my doctor. My sister's going to ask her doctor. My father's going to ask his. My mother's going to ask hers. My eldest is going to ask her. So we're all going to be vaccinated. But however, you can get the full vaccinations, but it doesn't excuse of you wearing a mask because the CDC put out new travel guidelines. If you're fully vaccinated, you don't have to take another test if you're going to see a relative or see somebody when you travel back. But however, they require for you to wear a mask when you're traveling. And wear a mask in general. I've been saying this from before, and people get mad at me when I say this. Like, oh, you're putting doomsday out there for us. No, you're being negative. No, I'm being real. I said before, we are going to be wearing a mask for the next year and a half. We're probably going to be wearing it until like around this time next year is going to be declared that the pandemic is over. Because if you read about the influenza in 1918 called the Spanish flu, it was a pandemic for like 2 years. It started in February of 1918 when we were fighting World War I until 1920, like April of 1920. That's 2 years. So this pandemic started March 2020, which is almost around the same time that the influenza happened, and it's gonna probably go on to probably like around this time next year in April, because even though people are getting vaccinated, you still got some folks that don't listen out there. This pandemic is lingering. Then you got the fall of 2021. That's cold and flu season, and you don't know if you're gonna catch a cold, you're going to catch the flu, or you're going to catch coronavirus. So that's why it's important to wear your mask, to get your vaccinations, but also to wear a damn mask too after being vaccinated. And don't be going into big old crowds because it's still a pandemic. Just saying, it's an airborne disease out here. So that is that. But on a lighter note, according to the new jobs report, 916,000 new jobs have been created and recovered. However, from what I heard, it was only salary jobs that actually has been created and recovered. Not too many hourly jobs, which that is kind of like a problem in a way, because most Americans do work and make money under the poverty line. And so when you make money under the poverty line, you're not getting these salary jobs. You're not qualified, because some of these salary jobs probably any up their qualifications. I mean, for me, it will be good to get a salary job because I have the qualifications, I have the experience. But how about other people that don't have the experience or the education that I have? It's going to be tough for them because they can't get that job, and somebody else, unfortunately, that's white, going to get this job. That's why it's not just about the whole, criminal justice system when it comes to racial reckoning. It's about the freaking job market too, because some jobs are still racist and will pick the least qualified white person just because they got the education and the stamina over the black person who have all the qualifications that is listed under the job requirements. Because it's the truth. Just saying. But that is good news, but also kind of like iffy news for the people who's making under the poverty line. And I already addressed the importance of wearing a mask. But yeah, I mean, we're in this pandemic for a good while. It's not going nowhere. You still have to wear your mask. You still have to social distance. And you got to be careful going into big crowds. Because you go into big crowds, and if you're hugging people and if you're just being reckless, you will catch COVID. You either will have a bad pre-existing condition after you recover, or you will die. It's just that simple. For those who live in Republican states, I feel bad for you. But if you want to be a model citizen and save yourself, wear your mask. That's the best advice I can give you. So, hey. But in terms of our politics, so if you wasn't paying attention this week, the George Floyd the case on George Floyd's murder, Derek Chauvin is on trial for murdering George Floyd. Obviously, there's footage of it that he murdered him. And pretty much, if you really want to get technical, the witnesses were very compelling. Very compelling. Wagwan, Queen Line. Yeah, the witnesses were very compelling, and their testimonies were very much. And it almost had me crying. Some of it had me mad because it's like, why are we on trial for this when it was a clear murder? This man was murdered in broad daylight in front of people. Not a large crowd, but a small crowd of people. It's on video. Not just adults seen this, but teenagers and children as young as 9 saw that shit. This case is a open and shut case. For Derek Chauvin to claim his innocence is just beyond baffling. Just because you're white and you're a cop and you got good standing, even though you have multiple complaints against you, doesn't mean that you will get off this easy. So I hope the jury, even though one of them couldn't sleep at night, I hope they render that verdict and that man is guilty. And it was 9 minutes and 22 seconds of Derek Chauvin murdering George Floyd. 9 minutes and 22 seconds, or I should say 9 minutes and 29 seconds. All for something they call a fake $20 bill. Really? Like, it's been years of the cops just abusing their power and just shooting black men and brown men for no reason and harassing them. It goes all the way back when I was born in 1986, so it goes probably deeper than the time I was born. But I witnessed the one in 1995 under Rudolph Giuliani, the same one with Amadou Diallo in 1999, under Michael Bloomberg, Sean Bell, under Mayor de Blasio, Eric Gardner. And then, if you really want to go out of state, because I live in New York, you have Tamir Rice, you have Trayvon Martin, you have Michael Brown. There's so many. Philando Castile, Stephon Clark. It's so many that I and Breonna Taylor, which, the Bull Connor in blackface took the side of the cops. Not surprised. But there's just so many of these cases amongst black and brown people that I'm goddamn tired. Like, I'm frustrated. Chantay, you should have marched with the people. No, marching is not my thing. It was never my thing. However, I was always aware and conscious of this thing. Because people are marching, and I get that. But them same people that marched for George Floyd, some of them didn't vote this election. Let's be real. Some of them did not vote in this election. Some of them still have some of their implicit biases amongst black and brown people. That's one of the other reasons why I did not march. Yeah, we all unified. Some are not unified. Some still carry their own racist vitriol. Because trust me, I get a lot of it in my Twitter feed. Even they try to find my Instagram page too. Just saying. But I'm tired of this shit. I'm almost 35 years old. I'll be 35 in 18 days, and I'm sick of this bullshit. I'm sick of black and brown men and women being harassed, shot, and killed by the fucking police. I am so sick of this bullshit. You don't even understand. I'm so sick of this shit. So sick. That's why it's important to keep asking these politicians to pass these measures of cutting police funding, putting police reform there, reimagine what our law enforcement look like, which some of the progressives have failed to mention that part, and hold police accountable for their actions. And that's what I'm proposing. Just saying. But also, another attack on Capitol Hill. So I guess it's a young guy. He's 25 years old. He shot one of the Capitol Police. I guess, the Capitol, has been an easy target thanks to Donald Trump and the Republican Party, or the Grand QAnon Party, that Capitol Hill is a vulnerable place to work. And not just for the elected officials, but, congressional aides, Senate aides, the cooks, the security, the maintenance workers. It's not safe for them to work. And even Capitol Police, not safe for them to work. Because, why? Because Donald Trump gave that avenue to people to pretty much infiltrate. I don't even know the right words, to trespass. There we go, to trespass the place. Sad. Just sad. Let me read your comments. He ran over in his car. The cops shot him. Yeah. The cops shot him, but you didn't shoot the insurrectionists that came to Capitol Hill. And that's another thing, too, with our justice system. It's like it's two separate laws for people. There's one for people that look like me. If you do this, your ass is getting shot. You lucky you get arrested, but your ass is getting shot and killed. And then there's another side where if you're white, especially a white male, you get to do whatever, make a mistake, get arrested, and get off free of charge. There's a disconnect. A huge disconnect. And I'm pretty sure Fox News is running this thing like he's a terrorist and he's a blah, blah, blah. What about the people that invaded and trespassed Capitol Hill on January 6th? What about them? The ones with Trump flags, with tiki torches. I'm pretty sure there was no tiki torches, but also stole Nancy Pelosi's laptop. Tried to kill the vice president at the time. But y'all don't understand why he's still beholden to a party that tried to kill him. I mean, I don't understand it. But unfortunately, this is America. And that's why laws need to be passed. People need to be expelled from both Congress and from the Senate, who encourages this bullshit, who still were silent and didn't say shit. They didn't even put out a statement how wrong this is. Blame Antifa. Antifa's a motherfucking idea. Ron Johnson, Joshua Hawley, Rafael Cruz is an idea. So I don't get it. Black guy with a knife ends up dead, but the white people that invaded and trespassed the Capitol, they're just concerned supporters. What the fuck, Ron Johnson? Are you fucking stupid? Are you fucking dumb? This is fucking bullshit. That's that whiteness, that white supremacy enabling bullshit. That's why I cannot wait for him more than anybody to get out of the goddamn Senate. Because if he gets expelled, which most likely that will probably happen, he will be replaced by a Democrat. Unlike Joshua Hawley and unlike Rafael Cruz. Rafael Cruz unfortunately got years to go. And so do Joshua Hawley. Even though if they get expelled, they will still be replaced by Republicans. But if Ron Johnson goes, he will be replaced by a Democrat. Trust and believe. Because it will happen. And he needs to go. Because every time when I look at his face and hear his nasty ass voice, makes me, want to punch something. But America's justice system is all the way jacked up. Jacked the fuck up. Period. And with Biden's infrastructure plan, speaking of Republicans trying to, switch a narrative and always doing a narrative. So President Biden has an infrastructure plan that is worth $2 trillion. And that includes, repairing our roads and our bridges and the transportation system and yada, yada, yada. Don't know exactly what it entails, but it entails those things. But of course, Republicans have a problem with every fucking thing. It is so partisan within our two legislative chambers. It's so fucking sad. So fucking sad. And yet the media has so much smoke for the Democratic Party. That's why some of these mainstream media people I don't really like to watch. Because you always have something to say. You always have a problem, but not giving advice. And then your advice is shitty as fuck. I haven't worked in politics at all. But god damn it, I will give better advice. I will not always criticize people in the Democratic Party. I will try to advise them you have to make this move yourself. You have to do this. You have to do that. Not try to be heavily critical because you're helping the Republicans create a whole entire narrative about the Biden and Harris administration and about the Democratic Party. For the last, I was born in 1986, so I'll be 35. Out of all my years of living, It was the Democratic Party that has saved this country from going tanking under the garbage can. When I was born, the Reagan administration was on and popping with just passing just terrible legislation that will hurt black and brown people. And some of it is still hurtful till today. And with George Bush, he didn't do shit neither. So if it wasn't for Bill Clinton, the economy wouldn't have been booming the way it was. It would have been no surplus. And people wouldn't got houses under his administration. Then George Bush came in, effed up everything. And our credit rating was low because of him. Then the black man, the first African-American president, came and did cleanup. He had a $1.3 trillion deficit on his desk. And you telling me that he was not as great at his job? He fell for a centrist Republican idea? No, he was trying to get shit passed. The problem with President Obama was he was putting all his faith, working with the Republican Party. Because he was like, y'all worked with Bill Clinton before, why y'all can't work with me? Because it was racism. Everything he wanted to do during the last 2 years of his presidency, he couldn't do. But one thing he did get done, well, a couple of things he got done. First of all, he made the Affordable Health Care Act the law of the land. The law of the land. As much as Republicans tried to repeal it so many times, it was the people that said hell no. Same-sex marriage. If it wasn't for him, same-sex marriage would not be legal in this country because the Republicans are trying to do everything during the Trump administration, tried to dismantle that shit. Try not to acknowledge LGBTQ couples as married couples, as a couple, period. Let's see. What else? The IBR form for, to pay your loans by your income. He did that. That was him. That was President Obama. The Civil Rights Division within the Education Department to make sure black kids don't get in trouble. Try to get worse trouble than anything. That was him. But the Trump administration dismantled that, of course. They tried to eliminate TTP, but that didn't work. Nope. Because the Trump administration couldn't do it. So that's law of the land. I'm going to need for people, I understand, you're excited about this administration, half of y'all, but I'm going to need for people to stop shitting on the Obama administration. Because if it wasn't for him, a lot of things would not be law of the land right now. Stop shitting on it. And this is to progressives. Keep your fucking name, I'm going to say this again. To the progressives, and I mean this wholeheartedly, keep the former president's name, Barack Obama, name out your mouths. Do not disrespect him, and don't shit on his legacy, because y'all been doing that shit during his tenure, after his tenure, and still now. Cut the shit, because I'm tired. And speaking of the GOP, trying to say that the infrastructure plan, Joe Biden's infrastructure plan, will cost too much because they don't want to build roads in their place, even though roads in their state is shitty. They also trying to suppress the vote too in Georgia. Not shocking. Not trying to give people water, which is stupid, online. That's ridiculous. Not trying to give them a snack while voting. That's dumb. Cutting voting 2 hours before. Normally, their voting polls will close at 7 or 8 o'clock. Now it's going to close at 5. Like, this is inhumane. But, of course, Brian Kemp has not said anything because he's scared. Because he's scared of the power of the people. And, unfortunately, a state representative in Georgia was arrested. And because they, the way they arrested her and the way they manhandled her, she had an arm injury. So she's suing them. And she's been charged with a felony, which I don't understand why I charged her with a felony when she was just doing her job. Because she also has a position within being a state legislator. She also is a recording secretary. So Brian Kemp really messed up this time around. Just saying. But the Republican Party trying to oppose the Biden infrastructure that would actually help their states because their states are actually poor, and trying to suppress the vote and just trying to do everything to just be total jackasses. It's just insane. It's just stupid. It's a reach. They're scared. America is changing. The racial demographic is changing, and the makeup of it is changing, and they're scared. And more of the Republican Party is now made up of old, angry white men. Old, angry white men who's trying to hold on to the little bit of power that they still have. Because they realize that it's black people, it's brown people, it's Native Americans, indigenous people, and Asian people are the rising majority. And we have jobs that will actually help people. The jobs that they actually have. And they're scared. They're scared. And they should be scared because their day of reckoning is coming. They had over 300-400 years of just being shitty, nasty, fucking, just horrible colonizers. And now your day of reckoning in the 21st century is coming. And it should have been here a while ago. You read your comments. They're doing this to help out the wealthy and powerful and keep the minorities poor. Of course, Joseph. They're doing everything to keep minorities poor. But what they don't know, there's a lot of activist groups that are out there and that will bring it to them. They will even go to the house if they have to. The Black Voters Matter and other activist groups are basically protesting this whole Georgia thing. There's also other activist groups outside of Georgia that's just like, no. And other states are trying to do the same thing that Georgia did. Florida's trying to do it and Texas is trying to do it. And possibly South Carolina may do it too. So there's a lot at play. So this is exactly why voting in small elections matter. Voting big elections is fine, but voting for small elections, well, voting overall, you should vote overall, whether it's small or big elections. Like where we live at, I live at in New York, there's a mayoral election, and there's a city council election, and there's a control. It's local offices this year. It's a whole bunch of. It's a controller, and it's something else. I forgot what other offices because I got to look at the Ballotpedia. I encourage you to go to Ballotpedia. You can Google it. I forgot. I don't know if it's a .org or a .com, and you will look at who is on the ballot in your local state. Just put in your zip code, I think, or your state or where you live, and it will show you who's running in your area. So it's a very helpful website because you get to learn a lot about a lot of things. So speaking of local elections, so in my city of New York, because that's getting a lot of attention, there is a mayoral race because Bill de Blasio's term is up by the end of the year on December 31st. And so here are the people that are running. There is Maya Wiley, who is a former counsel to Mayor de Blasio in his first term. She's running, and she's also a political commentator. There is Eric Adams, who is the current Brooklyn Borough president, who has a long history serving in New York politics for a very long time. He's also a New York native, and so he is also second in the polls behind Andrew Yang, who is a former presidential candidate and a political commentator and also an entrepreneur. And then you had Diane Morales, who is an entrepreneur, a progressive as well. She, I believe, is a native of the city, too. You have Sean Donovan, who is a former aide to President Obama and a former staffer to Michael Bloomberg. and he's running. You have Ray McGuire, who is a businessman, New York City based, Ohio born. And then you have Catherine Garcia, who is the former commissioner of sanitation under the Bill de Blasio administration. Now, with these candidates, okay, let me answer. I see one of your questions. I'm getting distracted. So all the southern states are turning red, huh? I don't know. They're trying to, Joseph. They're trying to, but I highly doubt it. But with this mayoral race and all the candidates I just named, let's see who I'm rooting for. Of course, I love Maya. I think she's wonderful. I think she's great. Who I see enhancing into like a Republican challenger, because it's too soon, I see Eric Adams rising above, because not just because his long-standing record as a politician and, you know, his popularity in New York City, but who he is as a person. And he speaks to the issues that affects everyday New Yorkers. I hope Maya does rise above the polls, because there is a mayoral debate on May 12th. It's airing on New York 1. So if you are in New York, and then I'm speaking to the New Yorkers especially, if you live in New York City, and if you have New York 1, I encourage you to watch it. If you can watch it online, New York 1, I think Spectrum 1 News, I think they have a streaming thing. You can watch it on there. Yeah, you can watch it on there. I have an Optimum app because my parents have Optimum. They're from the Bronx. And I still got, even though I live in Manhattan, I got Verizon Fios, but I have an Optimum app on my iPad. So I will watch it on May 12th. I think it airs at 8 o'clock at night. I'm not quite as sure, because there's a series of debates that will be going on. There's a debate of the controllers, and I'm not sure the borough presidents, because also there's borough presidents that's running this time around as well. So pretty much this mayoral debate is a very big deal, because now that Bill de Blasio is like going bye-bye, you will actually have a real candidate, a real serious candidate who will repair the city, because this pandemic has left New York broke. New York State is broke by $61 billion. New York City in particular is probably like $15 or $20 billion in debt, because think about it. We're the financial capital of the country, possibly the world. We have a high tourism area in the East Coast. Besides Boston, besides DC, it's us. Let's see. We have the theater district, which they suffered tremendously. A lot of their actors probably had to file for, that unemployment, and also get their health care through the health exchange program, because they're freelance workers. Also, small businesses suffered very bad. There's a lot of small businesses here in New York. It's about 90% is small businesses. Some businesses that have been in business as long as I've been alive have closed down. You have places like Modell's and Century 21 closed. And those are New York City department stores that is known in the city. If you're from New York, you know what Century 21 is, and you know about Modell's. And Modell's been around for 130 years. And also another New York-based company, New York & Company, it's been in business in 1918. They closed all their stores. Even though they operate online, they're not even doing that well. So there's a lot of places that is just, it's bad. It's really bad. So whoever comes in, they have a whole entire mess to clean up. And also our city agencies is a complete shit show. I mean, there's always a staff shakeup. There's always a new commissioner all the goddamn time. It's always a thing. So I'll be happy to see this mayoral debate on May 12th. Well, while I'm getting into it, I'm about to talk about Yang, but let me just read some of your comments. We'll fix things. We survived, Lindsay, in 9/11. Yes, we did. I remember 9/11. I was 15 years old when that happened. I remember, walking to the bus stop. The trains were out. trains were out, and we will get through this absolutely. And I love Century 21 too. My mother used to go to Century 21. I used to get all my Easter dresses as a kid, and my mom used to love going to the one down on Fulton. That was the best one she loved. But speaking of more on the mayoral candidacy, so Andrew Yang Gang folks are very interesting folks and a very interesting group of people. Obviously, they are some salty you know what's. So, I tweeted earlier today, which, and I meant every goddamn word of what the hell I said. So, I'm just going to speak my shit and speak my piece. Because I tell the goddamn truth. Whether it's mean, whether it's harsh, I tell the goddamn truth. And I mean every motherfucking word that I say. So, here it is. Andrew Yang will not, and that's capitals, will not be elected as mayor of New York. Period. Period. I meant every goddamn word of it. Every freaking word of what I said. So here it goes. I don't know it. I thought the same of Trump in 2016. Man, bye. Here's another thing. Respectfully, you're wrong. He is the best of the candidates, and he will bring qualities we need to recover from the pandemic and restore New York business and job base. He's a very progressive, and his success in business makes him well qualified to successfully govern. The last businessman that we had as a mayor, we had him for 12 years, and you see what the fuck happened, right? Black people lost their rent control apartments. Yes, the city was beautified, but it was beautified only for white gentrifiers, not for people that have been here a long time. He gave a gateway, and he is Michael Bloomberg. Gave a gateway to those outsiders that came to New York to live in my neighborhood, because my neighborhood in Harlem was the first neighborhood in the city to be gentrified. And most people had to leave. People who had decent jobs had to leave the city because they couldn't afford it anymore. Even though they wanted a house, but they wanted a house on their own terms. They didn't want to move and leave right away. And some of them had to probably move to other boroughs that they didn't want to live. So having a successful businessman to run a city of almost damn near 10 million people and over 60-something agencies, when most of the employees are Black and Latino, and you can't relate to them. And I'm not saying you can't relate to them because of your race. You can't relate to them because you're so out of touch. Like, you're a whole entire millionaire from Silicon Valley. You're from Schenectady. That's where you were born and raised. But you spent your time out of New York City. And during the pandemic, you wasn't even in New York City. You complain about being in a 2-bedroom apartment with your 2 fucking kids. Are you kidding me? There's people that got 3 or 4 kids in a 2-bedroom apartment in New York City. That's the way life is, unfortunately. People had to do their just due. Imagine people in the 70s and 80s who had 5 kids and a 2-bedroom apartment. Come on with this shit. That shit is the ignorance of this shit. And of course, it's a white man that said that. So there's more stupid comics. Oh, look like somebody's sad in your mentions, making fools of themselves. Love to see it. Oh no, that wasn't a stupid comment. Sorry. Someone said, enough of this neoliberal corporatist bourgeoisie garbage. How many neoliberals do we need to elect in order to prove to them, to you, that they don't act? First of all, it's some same neoliberals that y'all talking about that actually get shit done. If you want to call David Dinkins a neoliberal, by all means, because he's resting in a good place, that's fine. Because under his leadership, people actually was prosperous. And keep in mind, he was the mayor during the drug era that actually tried to clean up New York City the best way he can. And try and put reforms on police. Like this whole thing, like Jesus Christ. Like, I can't. And everybody was like, oh, you're so upset, Chantay. It's not I'm so upset. I was born and bred here. I was born and raised in Harlem. I was born during the drug era. I was raised in between the middle where it was cleaning up and the gentrification happened. So I was raised during that time. And for the last time, and to these progressives, New York City is not a progressive state. It's a liberal state, but it's not a progressive state. Because before Bill de Blasio, we had two Republican governors. Two Republican mayors in a 20-year span. One for 8, one for 12. Even though Michael Bloomberg became an independent in his third term, but he was a Republican for 2 terms. 2. Okay. So I'm like, this whole notion that New York is a progressive city is fucking bullshit. Okay. So cut that shit out. That's one. Another is nobody is not going to elect a incompetent, unserious, unqualified candidate like Andrew Yang. I know he's in the hospital. I hope he recovers. But in terms of being the mayor of New York City in this time, is no. I'd rather you be a political commentator or run your nonprofit organization, which you're probably doing some good work there. You can do that. You can do that. But running for mayor of New York, no. New York City has a big budget, has many agencies, and many infrastructure projects that he will not be able to handle. And then you got to deal with the governor of New York. Whether if Cuomo's still there or whether Hochul, if I'm saying her last name right, is still there, they're not going to put up with your progressive ideal bullshit. They're not. Okay? They're not. It's not happening. They don't put up with Bill de Blasio shit. What makes you think they're going to put up with you? It needs to be a working relationship. And who I can see is probably Maya or Eric. But most likely Eric might enhance. If I was Maya, I will get away for some of the progressive talking points. Because you have one of the Warrenistas working for you. And that's fine. But if you're trying to run a campaign like Elizabeth Warren, I don't think that's a good sign for you. And this is just me being genuine because I really want to see Maya win. But as long as you have that feminist chicks from the Warren crowd, the way they run in your campaign, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. So I just want her just to do well. I just want some of her campaign staffers to shut the fuck up. That's what I like for them to do. In terms of Andrew Yang had kidney is in the hospital for kidney stones. He has something with his kidneys. I don't know, but that's serious. With your kidney stones, that's serious. But I'm excited to watch this mayoral debate. I think it's good. It's good to watch debates. Maybe this will be a much serious debate than the one with Michael Bloomberg and Bill Thompson. Well, Bill Thompson actually wiped Bloomberg clean, but still Bloomberg managed to win just barely by 4 points. So this debate is gonna be spirited. It's gonna be a spirited one, and you will see how Andrew Yang will crack. Because he will say something that would be cool and everything, that'd be funny. But there's people in that stage that's serious. Like you got a Sean Donovan who look like he will rip Andrew Yang's balls off in the minute that he says something. You have, let's see, Maya that will be pretty serious. Then you have, Eric Adams that will just look at him like he's fucking stupid and rip his balls off like Sean Donovan would. So, you can't be going there thinking it's a whole fucking joke because it's not. Because this is a large city, one of the largest in the country. And Bill de Blasio already fucked up, so they don't need another jokester. They don't need another fool in there. We don't. Because I live in the city. We don't. We don't need another jackass in there. And for those who have a problem, and what the fuck I said about Andrew Yang running for mayor and saying that he's unqualified, like I said, you can pass the fuck on through, because this message is not for you. This page, my whole social media is not for you. It's not. Because I said what I said. In the long run, I'm mostly right about a lot of things. And this I am right about, because Andrew Yang is an unserious candidate. He is unqualified. He don't know all the agencies there. He said the best mayor for New York City was Ed Koch. Are you kidding me? Ed Koch, even though he was a Democrat, Ed Koch was a undercover, closeted man who did not acknowledge the AIDS crisis. And also the drug epidemic was under his ass. If you really want to get technical. He didn't do nothing. So, that's a red flag. That's a no-go. And also, you try to be this middle ground person in New York City. That's not going to fly. It's not going to happen. Like, you will not know what to do. You will crack under pressure. If a city worker came up to you and told you and complained to you, you will cry. Seriously? You will really cry. That's why, like, he's not equipped to handle this shit in New York City. New York City is a tough concrete jungle, and Andrew Yang ain't built for it. He's not built. Not built for it at all. That's why, like, I would rather see Ray Maguire even run, even though I don't think he's going to get it neither. But shit, he looks more serious than Andrew Yang any goddamn day. Andrew Yang think everything's a motherfucking joke. No, it's not. It's not a joke. This is real life. This is people's lives. Almost 10 million people living in this city. So we don't need your fucking jocular positions. We don't need none of that bullshit. We don't need it. Period. But before I end this, I want to say to the progressives, because it seems like you guys are just so salty. Because 2 weeks ago, it's the anniversary that I put out a list and saying these following progressives will go to things. And that includes Breonna Gray, that includes Ryan Knight, that includes David Serrata, many, many more folks I can't name off the top of my head that will be going through things. And I should have put Walker Bragman on that list too, because he looked like the struggle. Like the struggle's all in his face. It's all in his profile. But to you progressive talking heads and your fan base that want to troll my page because I tell the truth, I'm sorry that the truth hurts. But you guys are going to go through some stuff. And you're already going through stuff. You're already losing viewership in your podcasts. You're losing money in your Patreon stuff. You're not getting booked for jobs. Not getting booked for, TV interviews. Because you keep criticizing the mainstream media. And you think they're really going to book you for giving political analysis. Are you that fucking dumb? Nobody's not going to take y'all serious because y'all the most unserious motherfuckers ever around on social media. Y'all lucky y'all got a shot working and being surrogates for the Bernie Sanders campaign. Because no other presidential campaign or political campaign will ever hire y'all. Y'all like the most unserious people, like I said, the most unqualified people, and just all around assholes. And y'all want to talk shit about the K-Hive since y'all don't got nothing better to do. I said it from before. There is no requirements. There is no recruitment process to be part of the K-Hive. But there is a recruitment process to be a Bernie bro. Like I said, you have to be a grifter. You have to be a swindler. You have to be a racist, misogynist, a progressive, have a rose by your name, and just an all-around asshole. And a troll. Because that's the kind of shit that y'all do. And Bernie Sanders did not condemn y'all during the primaries. And then he forgot about y'all motherfuckers because y'all was just a money deal for him. A grifting deal. A swindling deal. And still is, because he still got Our Revolution organization that don't even endorse candidates like that. And the candidates that they do endorse, they don't hardly win their elections. It's only like 2 or 3 of them on my finger that win their elections. So right there, that's a grifting. That's a swindle. And that's a fact. But as I said before, you progressives got a problem. Y'all could pass by my page. Y'all can mute me for all I care. Or you just can go somewhere and crow. And that's what I'm saying. But until then, folks, you have a good night, and I see you next week. And also, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel as well, because it's in my Instagram profile and it's in my Twitter profile. Okay? You guys have a good night.